Hello.
Hi,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you see and hear me as well?
Perfectly. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm very, very good. I'm very excited that you joined me today for this talk.
And I
Well,
see we have almost the same outfit.
yeah, it's there. Germany is back in the full pandemic. This is me on my sofa outfit. So thank you for joining today. Usually, the sustainability narratives talks, they are very much about local experiences and how sustainability is such a different thing from location to location and country to country. But I just found it important to shift the kind of focus a little bit and go more behind the scenes because there's so much important things happening behind the scenes. And you, Francisca, are obviously one of the most interesting people behind the scenes because you because you are working for the global organic textile standard. So for those of you who listen who don't know what that is, Francie, can you maybe explain to us just in a couple of words what's that about? What's the GOTS standard?
Yeah, thanks a lot for your very nice formulated introduction. Yeah, since I work for the Global Organic Textile Standard, as you already said, I was a bit global, so to say, even in times of pandemic, to be honest. So it is the world leading textile processing standard for organic fibers, including, of course, social and ecological criteria. And all of this is backed up by independent third-party certification. And especially to mention and also to emphasize of the entire supply chain. And the vision of GOTS or of us as such as team is that organic textiles will become a significant part of everyday life, hopefully. And at the same time also enhancing people's lives and the environment. Yes.
Okay, so that basically means that you as GOTS or the GOTS standards, you kind of give out regulations, ideas, or frameworks, and then people who want to show their consumers or people in the supply chain that they are actually doing good or producing in a responsible way, they can get your certification, but from someone else. Like you're not giving them out, you're just creating them, right?
Exactly. So we are definitely defining the framework and the requirements, but we are not the certification bodies. So this will be done by accredited, GOT certified, approved certification bodies. So because this is sometimes mixing up to a certain extent, and then someone is saying, yes, but you do the certification. I said, no, I do not. We can talk about the requirements, but I'm not responsible for the certification process.
That's
so
interesting.
It stays independently.
Yeah, that is super interesting as you just mentioned it. What do you mean it mixes up? Like, does it mix up in interests or how does that become?
No, I think some people are just not aware of that we are only the standard setter and that we are not the certifiers. So, and then it is always important, especially when I'm giving online presentations or I meet rarely in these times, face to face, just to clarify that we are the standard setter and that we are not responsible for the certification process. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And what do you exactly do at GOTS? Like, what's your job?
Well, my job is I started working for GOTS in January 2019. So that time I worked for the so-called DACH region, so which is Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And since May this year, I shifted from being responsible for global brands, and my main tasks are establish and develop and maintain, of course, relationships with global brands, so to say. GOTS users. Then, of course, in-person visits. Well, in times of COVID, this is not taking place that much. So it's more about online presentations and webinars to those companies. And yeah, and since I did last week, also participating in relevant exhibition and conventions.
Okay, cool. That's exciting. Did you do you see a change of who is interested in GOTS? Like, do you see more consumers talking about it? Do you see more, like, let's say fashion brands talking about it? Or how can you, like, do you think there's a change over the pandemic years for that?
I think there's quite a change over the 2 years of pandemic. I think we are already in. Especially luxury brands are approaching me, of course, in my new position. And for them, it's quite important. They are using GOTS already within their supply chain as risk management tool, but they would like to go a step further. So they are also interested in just okay, we don't want to make any kind of self-claims. No, we would like to get got certified and also label at the point of sale. So they're interested to sell God's products to their consumers, which is a huge shift, I would have said, even in those luxury brand sphere. Yeah.
That is super interesting, actually, because I mean, I'm aware of the fact that a lot of companies use that just in their supply chain, right? But they just wouldn't put it on the tag, you know, they wouldn't put it on their kind of label or something like that.
Yeah.
And so when you see this change and stuff like that, do you think it's a real help? Like, what's your opinion? Like, can brands really achieve more sustainability, or can consumers understand what they buy if they rely on certifications? And
I think it's quite important to rely on certification instead of self-claims. And I think here's also a shift which was taking place during the pandemic, but even also before, so that you cannot tell people anymore, okay, with a nice fancy sustainability report, all our stuff is fancy and sustainable. So I think it needs to be backed up by an independent third-party certification, and especially luxury brands discovered this. So, and that's why I said they are now willing to get certified and to make this clear. Okay, we are really going this step further, getting more transparent and also being backed up with ecological and social criteria. Yeah. And if they would like to label this at the point of sale, of course, I like. So if we even get those consumers, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty cool that more luxury brands want to do that, right? Because I mean, people just think inherently, oh, luxury is like something that is so sustainable. And yeah, well, the quality can be better. It doesn't necessarily always say something about the production and stuff like that. So it's actually good to have a claim like GOTS, who is so independent. And I mean, you touched that quite often, how independent GOTS and certification are. And this is really important, right? This is not like you just put anything on it, or it's like you can basically buy a certificate or something like that. No. It's like legit checkups, and people go in and see like, how is the production, how do the people work, how, I don't know, is chemical management, all of this, right?
Yes, indeed. So it is all backed up by ecological and social criteria, as I already said. So they have to fulfill certain requirements to get the certificate. So it is also a recertification which is taking place annually. So it's not just, okay, we go there for once and then you are fine for the next 3 years. No. So there's constant progress also for you as a certified entity to get the recertification again. Yeah.
And you just mentioned that you have been at the conference, and there was, like, for those of you who don't know, there was like a big Textile Exchange conference. Textile Exchange is also a standard holder. It's kind of, yes, you know, similar to GOTS, for like different standards and stuff like that.
Exactly. We only have one.
Yeah, you only have one. Like, Textile Exchange has a bunch, actually.
Yeah.
So for you, obviously, it makes sense to join this kind of events and stuff like that. What did you think about the event? First of all, how was it to be at a real life event? Like, I haven't done that in a while. So how's that?
Well, actually, it was quite exciting, to be honest, because yes, we all are more or less getting more and more convenient with those digital formats, but it is something different to network and to meet person in real life, even if you have to wear such face masks. So it was a bit more than just only networking. It was also, okay, talking with people. Okay, how was it during the last 18 months already? I lost track how long we are in this so-called lockdown situation.
Roughly, so yeah, it was years, I think.
Yeah, so it was definitely pretty exciting. So to see people beyond the screen, that was definitely very nice. Yeah. And since this was taking place as a physical and digital event, I think you attended a couple of digital formats.
Yeah, I did.
So it was not overcrowded. So it was always possible to keep distance. So I felt always safe. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to say, I was like, I found it was very well put off, or very well done in terms of like a hybrid event, because a lot of the content was like really nice presented for people who are not in the room. Because I agree with you, like, it's online content is great and it's very convenient, but it's not the same as just being in a room with people. And especially with sustainability, I always think sustainability is still so vague. I think it still needs so much conversation. So I'm missing the random bits of conversation here and there when I talk to sustainability professionals and stuff like that. It's
That's
definitely
true.
a thing.
Yeah.
What did you think about the conference otherwise? Like, where would you say sustainability right now? Like,
Well,
what's
as
going
you
on?
already mentioned, sustainability is quite vague. I definitely enjoyed the session on, so it was called Policy Hubs. So it was about EU regulations and
Mhm.
upcoming laws regarding to claims of being
Mhm.
sustainable. And
Can
this
you
is something,
can you give an example? What would be a claim for being
so for
sustainable?
example, green, sustainable.
Mhm.
So a lot of stakeholders want the EU to push forward into the direction, okay, what this actually means, so
Mhm.
that there's no greenwashing anymore and that there's more transparency also for the end consumer. This is something I found really interesting, to be honest.
Mhm.
Then I found it also very interesting, the keynote speech. I'm not sure if you were able to listen to this because it was from Jason Hickel, so it was
Oh, it was
related to,
great. I listened to it. He
yeah,
is so great. I'm a big
yes, yeah,
fan. Yeah, yeah,
because he put the topics on the agenda which we will all need to cover to a certain extent, so degrowth and
yeah.
decoupling.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was really really amazed that there have been so many women on stage.
Yeah, but don't you think that's generally a thing? I mean,
No,
there's
no, not at all. I
really.
attended the conference 2 weeks ago, and I'm sorry to say that, but it was more or less dominated by white old men.
Which conference was that? I'm curious. You can name names. That's because I honestly I feel with the sustainability thing, that's one of those really
Mhm.
comfortable bubbles where there is a lot of women actually doing stuff. I mean, I feel you on general textile conferences. I think this is old
Yeah,
white male,
so yeah.
all over the place. If you go to a producer conference or something like this like just the general cotton conferences or stuff like that, that is so freaking malish. That's really painful.
Yeah.
But I always feel sustainability has a thing for women being in charge and women leading, which I actually enjoy.
Well, I totally agree with you, but the conference I attended 2 weeks ago was definitely more conventional
Yeah, that's
fashion. And of course, in such leading positions, you will find, yeah, especially old white men taking the decisions. Yeah, so, but I rather do not
yeah,
comment on that anymore.
that's okay. No, but I feel you on that one. I really like that you just mentioned that you enjoy the policy hub
Yeah.
at the conference you just were, because I feel this is a thing that I really want to address, or that a lot of people don't think about, like sustainability. Yes, I mean it's a trend, it's a buzzword. You can, I don't know, put it in your Instagram bio and you can hashtag the hell out of
Mm-hmm.
it, but it's actually it's based on laws. It's
Yeah.
regulations. It's like it's not only look at how cute I am with my recycled plastic bag, but like especially the job you do in the field that you're around, it has to do so much with like official regulations. What do you think about this gap, between sustainability being like such a hype and then this like super detailed nerdy knowledge you actually need to have to work with it?
Well, I think we can overcome the gap the more we have talks like this, for example, and people attend also, just to give a grasp idea or an idea on how GOTS, for example, works. So, or what you are doing in your field. And of course, the Policy Hub was definitely quite nerdy, so to say, when it comes to implement regulations, and it takes time. But on the other side, if we, for example, look into different countries already, Modern Slavery Act, etc., and also laws in France already in place, and they need to implement, and companies need to follow, because they don't, because the government won't look at this anymore. So to make a real claim on a product, so I'm not saying, well, it's preferred fiber or something like this. So I think we are getting there. Of course, it takes time, but I think it's time for politicians and the government to, yeah, to go ahead with that. That's why I really enjoyed this 1.5 hour session. Of course, I was not able to understand everything because I'm not working in the EU, but I
Yeah.
think they are taking important steps towards sustainability, and also to make it more of a market share. So yeah, that you have
Yeah.
an advantage to be real sustainable, and also to do not make claims, and to make honest
Yeah.
claims on what you're selling for products.
Also, this is super important that you just said, like, make it like an advantage of being really sustainable, because I mean, in the end, it's a business, right? I
Exactly.
mean,
Yeah.
it's like it's fashion textile is a powerhouse. It's just like I think the second biggest or third biggest employer in like all these industries worldwide. So I mean morals are great, but I don't think you can convince everyone with morals. You can convince people with money and turnover and tax
Yeah.
cuts and stuff like that. So I think that is also very important and very interesting with that. When you think about GOTS and the work that you are doing right now, how do you feel this can play out in the future? Because I mean, claims and consumers and education, I think there's still such a gap. Like, do you think GOTS, for example, will become something that every consumer knows in like 2 years or something?
I'm not sure if we can reach this in 2 years, and I'm also not sure if we would like to reach it in such a short period of time. I think for us, it's also important to ensure that we are still the quality standard we are at the moment, and that we continue being a so-called gold standard as people perceive GOTS normally. So this is something I wish for us. So that's something we are working towards. Then also, of course, to see, okay, what topics we need to implement into further development of God's versions. So this is actually something, because we are also not static. So it's not, there was this one version in 2006, and since then we did not develop, of course not. So there are so many topics we may need taking into consideration for the future. So I think, yeah, it will, but of course we are quite prominent, so to say, in a certain bubble, I would have said. And in case even more luxury brands or bigger brands are also interested in getting God certified and really looking forward or looking into real sustainability, of course, there may be a bigger outreach of Gods as well. Yeah. But I think the most important aspect is being the quality we are at the moment. Yeah. And to continue on that path.
I always find it so fascinating that if you would like if people pay attention to GOTS, where it is, where you can all find this label. Because to be quite honest, I mean, like that, and I worked as a textile auditor before, so I actually audited GOTS. To be super frank, I did not know what GOTS is before I started this work, and so I never paid attention. But as soon as I did, I can spot it everywhere. It's like from going to DM and Rossmann and buying just like makeup remover pads, or just being at like any kind of discount store and getting like kitchen stuff or like homeware or something for your kid or something. It's just so wild. Like it's wild how many people and how many companies actually use it, and how little people have it on the radar, because it can, in my opinion, it's a really great tool to make people understand, okay, this is something that is produced under a certain kind of umbrella of responsibility.
Yes,
And
definitely.
yes, and exactly what you just mentioned, all these empty claims. I don't know if you saw it, but there was like I think this week on the weekend or something, they published, it went super viral, this company from the UK, I want to say Shine, this like super fast fashion company.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have a new pant in their web shop, and it's like it's denim. It's a denim pants, and it's like 16 pounds, I want to say, and they claim it to be organic, without any like. There's no traceability of that. They just said like this is an organic pant. It's like 16 pounds, and this is what I mean with why regulations are so important.
Yeah. And this is
Like,
actually why those regulations are so important. So because it's just not a protected claim. Everyone can say organic. Even maybe this jumper here is, I can even claim organic, although it's only 1% organic cotton in it, or organic wool.
yeah, and
Yeah.
how horrible for people, because I think we are nerds, right? We work with this
Yes.
day to day. But I don't know how it is with you, but if I sit at a dinner table with my friends, they don't know this stuff, They were just, oh, look how cute, it's organic.
Well, I infiltrated all my friends already, so they are
You do
quite
that?
familiar with it. Yes, I do.
Oh, you have to, maybe you can tell me afterwards how you do that, because I really try, but people are getting bored of my ongoing, like, it's like, I think my girlfriends don't even want to tell me anymore. They just go, oh, look at this beautiful dress. It's like, where's it from? I don't want to tell you.
No, no. Well, I'm quite convincing, especially when it comes to friends and my family. But of course, yeah, people are taking care of it, right? Of course, I have not reached out to all of them, but most of them, yeah, I get them on the way.
That's good. That's good. And I think this is good if you can do that on a private level, because it has to continue, because we need to get people, right?
Yeah,
We
definitely.
need to make we need to make people understand why this stuff is so important, and why regulations like this are so important. And so, thinking about your work and thinking about the conference that you had right now, where you attended right now, is there anything that you find a little bit critical right now? Because I'm super honest from my side. I'm a little bit critical about some stuff that's going on in the sustainability bubble. Like, how do you feel about it?
Well, honestly, I was a bit, I lost track, to be honest, when it comes to all of those collaborations and initiatives. And if we are talking about partnership as the new leadership, I really missed out, okay, in which initiative as a company, for example, I need to engage to reach out for real impact. So this is something I would say is a bit critical. So I think we don't need more initiatives and more corporations. I think they are already quite good in place from where we can start, and we actually should act. So we are talking, we like to talk, we like to sit on panels and discuss, but I'm looking for the real projects. So, and this is something I wish for from such conferences in the near future, to have more roundtables and workshops. So where all those people sit together and see, okay, what can we reach, for example, in 3 days? Can we find an agreement on a certain project or topic? Yeah.
That is so it's so true that you're saying we really like to sit in panels and talk, right? And I'm honestly, from my perspective, I'm still trying to figure out, is that only sustainability people right now because we are so happy that finally someone lets us on the stage? Or is that just generally people that work in fashion and textile and stuff like that? But I see this, like, I see this buzzword of sustainability just being used all over, like for the most random events, the most random talks are suddenly like a critical collaboration for sustainable thinking. And I'm like,
okay,
no, you're not. You're just going broke, you know? You just need work. That's what it is.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah. I think it's all over the place, to be honest, that people like to sit on panels after 2 years of only doing online events. I have no idea. So, but the conference I attended 2 weeks ago was more or less the same. So it was not even related to sustainability or stuff like this, but even on that stage, everything was surrounded by sustainability. And I was asking myself, okay, how do you define sustainability for your specific context? Yeah, it's definitely still a buzzword. And that's why we also need those EU regulations to make it more clear, so that the random chemical use is not sustainable, or buying SUVs is not sustainable.
Yeah, definitely not. No, and it's like the regulations, I feel the regulations are so important, and they are especially important to make people see that there's so much more behind it than, as I said, making a pretty post or like boiling like this complex kind of procedures to like a pretty post or a nice panel discussion, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I love the attention for the topic. But I'm just, and this is me being critical, I'm just really worried that if we don't look at these regulations, we don't look at the honest claims like GOTS and other frameworks, we will lose sight for that this matters. It has to be regulated. You can't just do it for fun, you know?
I totally agree, and nothing to add on that. Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining, Franziska. Enjoy the rest of your Monday afternoon.
You too. You are in Germany, or where are you right now?
Yes, I'm in Berlin. Where are you, actually? You're back from Dublin, right?
Yes, I'm back from Dublin. So I'm in Bielefeld, the city which does not exist.
Nice.
I'm quite sure you heard about this.
This is a very German thing. It's like a German myth that Bielefeld just doesn't exist. So enjoy the rest of your week in Bielefeld, and I hope to run soon into you at a conference or something, maybe.
We do so. Thanks for having me.
Bye. Have a good Monday. Bye, everyone.